Every now and then we have a multifaceted guest, and today is no different with Daria Malin. We've invited her to give us a little bit of insight into what's happening with a little bit of work with the Ukrainian Patriot, as well as her entrepreneurial side. Daria, thanks for taking time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk a little bit about yourself as an author and a mom and entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about the book that you have and what you're doing now.
Sure. So the book I wrote, it's been 6 years ago this May that it came out, Hands-on Marketing, the Small Business Owner's Guide to Advertising and Branding. I had to look at it to remember apparently what it's called. The book came from getting a chance to work in media advertising for 16 years here in Saskatoon. And so I essentially came straight out of university and got to sit and interview business owners for 16 years. And I got to sit and learn what their struggles were and what their challenges were. And we got to build advertising campaigns and figure out how traditional media worked with new media when social media came out. And after that many years, I got to the opportunity to work with a publisher and just share a little bit of what I'd learned. Marketing seems to make itself really complicated. And so my goal with the book was to make it simpler and just narrow it down to the basics and what any small business owner can take and read and apply right away to their business. And I mean, small business owners are everything. They wear all the hats. Their finance, their marketing, their sales, their HR and everything. So this tool was just meant to make at least one of those hats a little easier to wear. Yeah.
I'd imagine you had a lot of experience in on the sales side in radio. If you're looking at trying to get your message out, and that would include, I guess, agencies and nonprofits as well, what are some things that you would focus on and maybe start with and branch out into?
Yeah, well, I mean, sales is all about relationships. And I find that a lot of professionals, no matter whether they're a nonprofit or for-profit business, they tend to think that they should just sit behind a computer and post online, and that's how they're going to get all their sales. And most will find that that's not the case. Usually that has to be combined in some way with your community and your network and getting to know people, supporting them, and having them support you in return. And so a lot of the work I do with clients now is in sales coaching, because often people think, I don't want to be in sales. It's scary. I don't want to be pushy. And what I've tried to always instill in my clients is sales is simply connecting with the people you can serve and sharing with them what problem you solve for them. And when people start to think about it that way, then they think, well, why would I keep this to myself? If I have a solution or I can make somebody's life easier or make their day better, it's up to me to tell them about it. And so your question about what would you do, where would you start, like who needs to know about you? Start going and meeting them, start shaking hands, build that visibility and credibility, and sales will start to follow as long as you're clear on what it is that you can do for your community. Yeah.
So I'd imagine it's a little bit of circulation in the community as well. You
Absolutely.
Just can't sit behind a keyboard.
Yeah.
If you're looking at trying to get the message out about you yourself as a person, is that different than an organization in terms of where you would go and how you would launch?
I love that question. So everybody in themselves is their own professional brand. And a lot of people just hope that people say nice things about them when their name comes up. Yeah. But I encourage professionals and even students. I was just talking at the university yesterday, and I said to the students, you are meant to build a professional brand because people are going to buy you no matter what organization you support or belong to, because they trust you. They know, like, and trust you. And so no matter what big brand you might represent, that will add credibility, but they're buying you because they trust that you can follow through for them. For example, there's going to be a lot of sales reps who work for a big company. And yes, they'll hear the company name, but if that sales rep leaves, attrition will happen because they've trusted that human, not just the name.
Exactly.
And so that also helps that if you're switching organizations throughout your career, people will follow you because you've built a reputation that they trust, and they say, oh, if this person is selling this, then I have confidence in it. Yeah.
Is it different from service to retail, as an example? If, I don't know, maybe a dentist or an accountant versus someone selling physical cups, saucers, things like that?
100%. So the more of the lower cost, lower relationship and involvement you purchase, the more likely that you'll see an ad, you'll click on it, you'll buy. There's not a lot of relationship that has to be built to sell a widget, right? And people who are in retail, they're so busy, keeping their head down so that their lights stay on, their staff stays happy, they have inventory, all the things. They just need some good ad campaigns to be driving lots of traffic. But when you get into the other side where you're selling a service, or you're an accountant or a lawyer or a dentist, where it's a bit more of a high involvement relationship and you're asking for more of an investment, then relationships are going to play a bigger role. For your professional service providers, they're going to sit down with every potential prospect, and it's worth an hour of their time to build a relationship and see if there's a fit. Somebody selling t-shirts isn't going to have a 1-hour meeting with every single person that's going to buy from them. So I kind of explain advertising to sales in that way, where the lower end, easier to purchase with the low investment side is high on advertising, and the higher end service where you're selling one-on-one, that's more where you're going to shake hands, you're going to build your network, you're going to look for relationships and champions and referral partners. Now, I coach a lot of professionals and they do have an online presence, but usually it's that their relationships are the leading actor, and then their online presence plays a supporting role. Like if somebody hears about my company, Boost Strategic Coaching, probably they'll come and look for some coaching or training because they trust me because somebody told me about them. But are they going to look me up online? Of course they are. But it's going to be a support to the endorsement that somebody's given. Yeah.
I guess that leads into some of the agencies' nonprofit work that's out there. For anyone that is involved in that field or industry, in that nonprofit sector, hospital foundations, Kinsmen, and so on, is that something even more unique unto themselves?
Well, you know what? You're selling something different. You're often selling a set of values. What do your potential donors value, and where do they see a connection, and what do they want to support because it means something to them? And so yes, the nonprofit world, they're doing everything from posting on social media and on billboards and stuff, but they're also, looking for those bigger donors. So they're also shaking hands. They're building those relationships. They're getting those connections made so that they can tell their story kind of in both capacities, because some are going to be small $20 donors, and seeing a billboard or a nice social media post is what it's going to take to get them over the decision to support you. But then there's going to be those ones that you're going to want to nurture relationships because you're hoping for long-term ongoing support, and that's more than just a click of a social post. Yeah.
So I guess that opens up the door for the Ukrainian Patriot. We have the 1-year anniversary, hopefully not, but looking like that it'll carry through at the end of February with the invasion in Ukraine. The Ukrainian Patriot and the work that organization does, you're kind of controlling a little bit behind the scenes. What is that organization doing?
Yeah, so 5 days after Russia invaded Ukraine, one of my good friends who lives in Kyiv, she grew up here, but she has been in Kyiv for 20 years, Lana Nyland, she started posting on Facebook every night, our time, morning, her time. Just a live video saying, I'm still alive, this is what's happening in Kyiv. I just saw tanks go past my apartment. I'm in, a bomb shelter in the metro station, whatever it is. And all of us friends from here, all of us are messaging her and saying, get out of the country, why are you still there? Are you okay? And if she was late for her video, we would all be afraid, right? Like, you can't be late for your video, we need to know that you're okay. And she said, I am seeing civilians go out to defend this country in nothing but a t-shirt and a ball cap, and I will be damned if I let that happen. I'm starting a fund. And so she decided, rather than being afraid, she was going to just try to be useful. And she wasn't going to go out and defend and carry a gun. That's not in her nature. She was going to do it in some other way. So within a couple of weeks, 7 others of us came on board, and we co-founded Ukrainian Patriot. And it has now grown into an organization that's in Ukraine, Canada, the US, and Australia. We have, a leadership team and dozens of volunteers. And what we've been able to do, just because of the generosity of people, a lot of them in North America, and actually quite a few in Saskatchewan, because we have the largest diaspora of Ukrainian heritage outside of Ukraine and Russia, we have been able to deliver tons and tons of medical, humanitarian, protective gear. And we're already also supporting PTSD and trauma treatment, as well as some rebuilding. And so the reason that I think it's become so popular among people wanting to support Ukraine is because we try to showcase how half our team is right on the ground in Ukraine. It's Ukrainian volunteers, it's internationals who came to Ukraine to specifically help. And so we own like 5 or 6 vehicles now, and we are physically driving as close to the front as we can without being completely unsafe. And we have connections with military battalions who can take things the rest of the way in, and we are evacuating civilians out. And so because our people are hands-on there, we know what is needed and where it's needed. And we're also working to connect people so that they can support themselves and each other. We've connected one battalion who had nowhere to wash their laundry, but they had a little bit of extra food rations, with a group of women who didn't have enough food, but they could do the laundry. So we're trying to connect people and help them start to be self-sustaining a little bit more than they could otherwise. And the internationals coming in, it gives the Ukrainians a lot of hope and they see that international people are watching. We've got our medical lead. She grew up here in Saskatoon. She still lives here. She's an RN. She's going back for her 4th time in February. We've got a whole team of ex-military from Australia who are there right now delivering, sorting goods and just being supportive. So yeah, lots going on. And so from me, for being a Ukrainian Canadian girl, grew up with the culture, the dance, the language, I can't be there defending or stopping the fighting, but I feel like our team here has been able to do a lot to be able to support there. Yeah.
If people did want to reach out and offer some assistance or help in some way, how would they get a hold of you?
So ukrainianpatriot.org is our website. It's just being redone, but it's got all the basic stuff. Our social media, we try to share stories every couple of days. We have a lot of people on the ground taking video and images so that you can see the work that we're doing with the support that we've gotten from here. So ukrainianpatriot.org or any of the socials, they can find it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for all your work with the coaching end on the Ukrainian Patriot. I hope we'll have you back and maybe get an update on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.